everyone. I'm John Evans. Welcome to another episode of One-on-One. Mickey Kraft was on top of the professional poker world. He came out of nowhere and led the biggest tournament of the year. He had 4 million chips at one point. Everyone wanted to talk to Mickey Kraft. Well, Mickey did not win the World Series of Poker main event in Las Vegas, but his performance sure put him on the map. It's been a meteoric rise in popularity for the former business owner who just turned pro last year.
Well, I've been playing poker for 20 years. I started online, a place called ultimatebet.com, which got in trouble for cheating, actually, later on down the road. But 20 years ago, I started, playing online, something to do during working hours because, I own my own company. I had a lot of downtime. So I just started playing poker. I grew up in my family playing poker. So 20 years going, and then all of a sudden they had the Black Friday, which I'm sure you've heard of. That's where they shut down all the poker sites and kept all the money for several years. So I had about $30,000 tied up in that, which kind of shut me down for a little while because that was all I keep my personal money separate from my poker money.
Right.
So that shut me down for a little bit, and about 2-3 years later I got it returned to me.
So when do you make the decision that you want to, okay, I'm working in a business, I've got it's Boss Storm Repair, right?
Correct.
So you've got a business, you've got a brick and mortar business, you're working for a living. When do you take that step and say, I'm good enough to make my living playing poker?
When you start winning. It's taken me a long time. First 10, 15 years, I would say I was a losing poker player. Last 5 years in cash, I've been doing really well. Now, I'm not a tournament player, so I started reading some books and sharpening my skills at tournaments. And then I went and played a few, and I just decided to become a professional poker player last year. Mm-hmm. So last year was the first time I got to write on my taxes, professional poker player, and claim what I won and so on and so forth, and take losses that way. But it was kind of fun writing that for the first time. And then this year, I sold my company just because I want to pursue this more, mm-hmm. and I won't have time for the company, so it wouldn't be fair to my partner. So he made me an offer. It wasn't the best offer in the world, but I took it. Mm-hmm. We both come out ahead, in my opinion.
So, tell me about Mickey Kraft. Where'd you grow up? And you said you grew up playing poker. So give me a little bit of background. People know you and I want to get into some of the headlines because you pretty much floored the World Series of Poker folks when you were out there. But give me a little bit of background, Mickey. Where'd you grow up?
I'm still dumbfounded about how I floored the World Series of Poker, but apparently I did somehow.
Yeah, you did.
I just grew up in Columbus, Ohio. 5 brothers, 2 sisters. We sat around, played cards. I can remember my dad having friends over all the time, and I had to go around and try to drink the what was left in the beer cans, and every now and then I'd get one with a cigarette in it. But Dad would always play with me. I remember even having a paper route, and the money that I made from the paper route, Dad would play me poker with it. And he's the type of guy, you lose, you lose. Yeah. If that money's gone, don't ask for it back.
Right.
But he was always fair and everything. But just grew up doing that. Joined the Army 1986 to 89. Parents divorced, so kind of at the age of 17 went on my own. And, of course, in the Army, we played poker for cigarettes and things of that nature when we were out in the field. It was just something to do. Mm-hmm. So it's always been around ever since I can remember. And as soon as I got into college, that's what I did. With my off time, I played online poker. Then when I got out of college...
Where'd you go to college?
University of North Florida.
Okay.
When I got out of college, opened up my own companies. I had a lot of downtime because I'm pretty good at what I do. So, I get my work done in the morning, play in the afternoon, and then I just sharpened my skills. One day I played at ultimatebet.com, the one I told you got in trouble. Mm-hmm. And I won my way into an Aruba Classic. This was when I'm 25 years old, 26 years old, down in Aruba. They flew me to Aruba, got to play in the tournament, finished in the money, $40-some thousand. 25-year-old kid, didn't know what to do.
Wow.
So I came back here and have been playing ever since. Now, as far as getting here to Wilmington,
Yeah, what got you here to Wilmington?
I had a house in Ohio, and we were working down in Myrtle Beach, the roofing company. We do storm claims for hail and wind, and they got hit pretty hard in Conway there with a hailstorm. And it was starting to die out and everything, and I'm like, well, I really don't want to go back to Ohio. I'm kind of sick of the weather there. I'm sick of every time winter come having to come south, because I'd been to Alabama, I'd been to Georgia, I'd been to Florida for the summers before looking for work. So somebody said, well, check out Wilmington. They got hit with a hailstorm, back in February of 2 years ago. So I came up here, and one of the first doors I knocked on is my fiance.
Oh, there you go.
I sold her a roof and met her, and ever since then I've sold my house in Ohio, sold my house there, moved in with her. We've been looking to move in either landfall or out on the intercoastal. The problem is, now that I've been a professional poker player, a lot of the money and the cost are going towards travel. And it doesn't seem to be really good to put our feet plant our feet firmly here as much as it does Vegas. So we're thinking about moving out to Vegas for a couple of years, see how it goes. We've got a lot of options, and we're just keeping them open. But I love Wilmington. Wilmington's a beautiful town. I could stay here forever if they would just legalize poker. If we would become the United States of America and actually become united and fix this problem.
So
we can all play.
So online poker really kind of got you into it.
I think it got everybody into it.
Yeah, you're right there. What's the difference between somebody who just plays like you were playing, but then somebody that thinks they're good enough to go to Aruba?
Well, everybody thinks they're good enough, but when you get around these guys who are professional poker players, who are better than me, okay, these guys have been doing this a long time. They've got it down to a science. I mean, if you read some of their books, they know all the math. They know everything there is. They have what's called a positive EV, equity value, and minus equity value. I mean, you just have to read about it. Like,
a card game?
Yeah. These kids are crazy with these numbers these days, and they're good. But they've taken kind of the fun out of the game, in my opinion. Okay, because they're going by this book that they created, which is good. But for me, it's easy to figure out. That's why I became chip leader at the World Series of Poker, because I took advantage of these guys. All right, they're all the same. Every one of them are the same. They're afraid to put their chips out there unless they got some. So when they do, you just get out. And then when they're getting in because they're in position, you just take advantage of them and raise them out of the pots.
So they're betting on science, and as opposed to maybe a gut feeling that you have or experience that you have.
Right. And they do play the person. They know a lot of tells and everything, but once you know what the tells are, you start throwing reverse tells.
Okay, all right, okay.
Like hold your breath. Hold your breath means you don't want to call. You're bluffing.
Okay.
So start holding your breath. These kids will take advantage of it and push their chips right towards you.
So, and I want to go into some of this other stuff, but tell me about a tell. All right, now, is it something as simple as they put their cards a certain way? How did you start recognizing that kind of stuff? And what's the smallest kind of thing that you look for in that?
Well, I've always been in sales all my life, so it's pretty easy for me to read a person pretty fast.
Okay.
What their wants and needs are. So I've used a lot of that, but, like if their neck is throbbing, their heart beats really fast, it means they got a really good hand. They're excited, okay? If they, play around with their cards too much or their chips too much, they don't want to call, right? They're trying to distract you from looking at them and to look at the chips. There's so many of them that some of them aren't even true anymore because people have caught on, and now they're throwing reverse tells left and right. But if you're playing amateur and he's an amateur because he's playing a lot of hands and things of that nature that he shouldn't be, you could take advantage of these tells. But there's hundreds of them. Hundreds and hundreds. They've had, even for the World Series of Poker last year, they used to have the November 9 where they got down to 9 people, and then they wouldn't play for 2 months. They'd call it the November 9. They'd stop in July. Play would resume with the 9 players in November. Well, you know what those players were doing? They were hiring FBI agents to go over the play of other people and tell them what's the tells. You know, what is this person doing? They were hiring people that for $50,000-$60,000 to do these things.
Really?
To look over videos and everything. So that's why they quit the November 9th.
So you'll look at something as simple as the artery in somebody's neck.
The artery in somebody's neck, the way they play with their chips, if they're shaking, they have a real good hand. People usually think that, well, they're nervous, they're bluffing. No, they're excited. They want you to call. They're shaking. So when I first started, I used to think a lot of the tells were opposite. Mm-hmm. So once I read some of the books and of the professionals, I got that straightened out, and it helped me out tremendously. It really did.
Your first tournament in Aruba, you said you went to. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about playing there. All of a sudden, I guess, you go from playing on a computer screen
right.
to facing, how many people were in it, and you're facing a bunch of people actually in this thing, right?
Even when I was in the Army, I'd never been overseas, so this was my first trip overseas. So it was a trip for two, and I didn't get to go with the girlfriend because I broke up with her right before. So I went by myself. Mm-hmm. So I'm in Aruba. I get there. I land. I don't know anybody. I just know all these famous people from, watching poker all my life. I seen Phil Hellmuth there, Mike the Mouth Mattisau, the Magician was there. Everybody was there, and they were all nice and friendly. And I remember walking out of my room, and for the first time I seen an iguana, and I didn't know what it was. I ran back in my room. I called the front desk. I said, I don't know what's out in front, but there's something running, and it's huge, and it's running out in front. They were like, sir, that's an iguana. I'm like, oh, what? So, I'm freaking out at the age of 25, 26 years old, and, first time overseas alone. But those guys kind of took me in as family. I did really well. They told me, Mike the Mouth Mattisau took me to a party at his place. It was awesome. I just became friends with him. I'm a pretty outgoing person. And, I play poker well. And I when I'm at the poker table, too, you can't make me mad. I don't get upset. You can see people throw their cards. And, mm-hmm. If you put a bad beat on me, it's not like I haven't put a bad beat on somebody else before,
Right.
It's just the nature of the game. So I'm pretty lighthearted when it comes to poker. And I just take it as a game, what it is.
So you look at that as maybe like your first day in school, or was that like high school or college as far as what you wanted to do?
Just as frightening, just as frightening as the first day of school. But it gave me the huge itch then. Now I see that there's money to be made, and I hadn't made any up until now, and then I didn't make any, quite a ways afterwards. So I must have got lucky in that tournament a little bit, mm-hmm. Because for 4 or 5 years after that, I didn't make money, And I had to sharpen the skills and read some books and polish up. So
it's more than just, clicking log off and then enter a tournament. You studied, you're telling me, right?
In order to become good and actually try to take this serious as a business, I decided that I was going to do everything I could, just like I've, took business classes in college.
Sure.
I'm going to take poker classes online. I'm going to read books. I'm going to talk to as many people and ask as many questions as possible. And everybody's got different ways of playing. And mine, I came from a cash game, I was really good at cash for the last 5 years, making money hand over foot. Anytime I'd walk into a room, 1 out of every 10 times I might leave with less money than I came with. So I knew I was good at cash, but tournament play is a total different animal altogether.
Why is that?
It's the way the blinds are set up, the structure is set up, how you should play tight at first and then start to loosen up towards the end. Cash game, it's, willy-nilly the whole time. Really.
Right, yeah.
It really is. You can always rebuy in on a cash game, and you can't do that on a tournament. So once you're out, you're out.
Okay, so then when did you take the step toward, I know you sold the business, you started to play as a professional player last year in 2016.
Correct.
But when did you start playing a little bit more and a little bit more? After the Aruba experience?
No. After the Aruba, again, I lost most of my money. So I'm playing on a fixed income, which means, $1,000 a week or whatever it was. And I've just now started doing the tournaments, and I didn't think I was any good at it until I read the books and everything. But then I went out to the World Series of Poker this year and played in 8 events and cashed in 4 of them. Well, most of the pros didn't even do 50% of the entries that they made. So this year and this year only is when I decided that I'm doing it full time. You know, I go to the bicycle casino here at the end of the month to play in the WPT event. My goal is to win a WPT tournament and then return to the World Series of Poker and win a bracelet.
And for those who are uninitiated, World Series of Poker, World Poker Tour, these are all different entities. Explain that to me.
The World Series of Poker has probably been around the longest. Binion's Casino out in Vegas started the World Series of Poker back in the 70s. They started the World Series of Poker. Okay, that's what it was called. It was one event, one time a year. But now the World Series of Poker has what's called a circuit. That's where matter of fact, they're at the Indian Casino here. What is the name of it?
Cherokee?
They're at Cherokee right now, which I'm not playing in. I'm not playing in any World Series of Poker till the main event, which is next year. But anyways, they have circuit events now. World Series of Poker has circuit events that travel everywhere, even overseas. The World Poker Tour does the same thing. The Heartland Poker Tour, the Mid-States Poker Tour, there's 20, 30 different ones.
Okay.
There's cardplayer.com. There's one that goes on cruise ships. I mean, if you're a poker player and you want to start off, you wouldn't start off at the World Series of Poker. That's where you're going to find the biggest and baddest players, that and the WPT, World Poker Tour. I mean, the best players. If you want to start off, you know, and work your way up to those, you're going to start off the Heartland Poker Tour, Midland Poker Tour, Card Player Poker Tour, one of the other smaller ones, because they only bring local people usually. And to where the World Poker Tour and the World Series of Poker Tour brings everybody from 20 different countries, you know. So
were you on the World Poker Tour last year?
No.
You just went to the World Series of Poker and entered, and you're good to go, and that's how it kind of came about?
I played in 4 events last year, cashed in 1 in the World Poker Tour, and they were all small events, $500 buy-ins, not like the $10,000 buy-ins I'm doing now. So, yeah, the 10,000 was the biggest I'd ever put down on a poker tournament ever out of my own pocket without winning my way into it was this year at the World Series of Poker. Everything else was 5,000, 3,000, 2,000, maybe even 1,100.
And you didn't have a sponsor, so this is out of Mickey's checkbook.
Well, I had actually final tabled an event prior to Event 53, which was a $3,000 limit hold'em, which is not no limit. I final tabled it, finished third for $69,000, and so I decided to go ahead and play in the main event. But I was going to play in the main event anyways.
So you cash and win there, and then all of a sudden, are people starting to talk about you?
That nobody started talking about me at all. I mean, until the World Series of Poker.
And you got out to you got out like a jackrabbit.
I was the first one to 500,000 chips. I was the first one to 1 million chips. I was the first one to 2 million chips. First one to 4 million chips. I was second in chips the second day. I was first in chips the third day. First in chips the fourth day, and first in chips the fifth day. And then I had a shot of Patron. And it all went to crap. But I had fun. I was celebrating getting engaged and so on and so forth. So, I was having fun. I didn't take it as serious as I should be. I mean, $8 million is $8 million, but, I think I could have definitely been at the final table if I'd have took it a little more serious. But
what did you do differently to get off to that start? Or did you just play Mickey poker?
I played Mickey craft poker. I've come up with a way of taking some of my cash ideas and putting them towards the poker, the tournament ideas, and it seemed to work out really well, especially with the kids that are going by that book. They're all the same, every single one of them. You pretty much know what they have by the way they're betting, and you know when they're bluffing by the way they're betting. And I just rolled over top of them. I mean, I took the number one guy out in the world. I had a flush draw and a straight draw, and he goes all in. And I'm actually a favorite in the hand, so, I called him, and I hit this flush. So he was a little upset that his aces got cracked, but I knew what he had. I knew he had me, right then and there. If it was done and over with, you win, but I'm ahead. There's 2 more cards to come, and you're going to lose.
and what's that like? I mean, I go on and play poker here or blackjack or whatever it is, but you're sitting at a table, you've got your money sitting in front of you, and you've got your cards, you know what your cards are. How do you discern what the other guy has?
It's by the way he's betting and by the way he's, a lot of times guys won't even look at you if they have a good hand because they don't care what you're doing.
Okay.
They hope you call, so they're kind of looking away. But if a guy's like looking at you, concerned about what you're doing, then he's not for sure he has you beat, and he's trying to get a read off of you. And there's hundreds of ways, John. I mean, just absolutely hundreds of ways. It takes 15, 20 years to master all this stuff. It really does. So. Yeah. I mean, I don't recommend anybody just jumping into it at all. Read as many books, take as many classes, play as many free tournaments as you can. Well, right. Free tournaments are really bad to play too because people play willy-nilly there too.
Yeah.
So it's not a good place to learn, but
it's
so hard to explain.
And days are going by, and you're sitting in high rent territory here. Mm-hmm. Did you change the way you played at all, or did you just continue to say, "Hey, this got me here. I might as well continue to do this"?
Well, what got me was the buzz. Okay, we're talking about Mickey Kraft, who's not been known in the poker world hardly at all. From people coming up to me and say, during your break, can we interview you? So I did about 20 different interviews. And then what really got me was, look, we're going to send you over to the final feature table because they won't shut up about it on Twitter. Everybody wants you over on the feature table. And that kind of went to my head. So I got over there and I tried to show off a little bit with some bluffs and things of that nature that didn't work out too well. So it was my downfall, mm-hmm. but it was my first time ever being there. So I don't regret anything.
Sure,
it's a learning experience. You learn from your mistakes. I learned from my mistakes, and hopefully I have the opportunity to be there again next year.
But the point is that in today's day and age, Twitter, Facebook, all these other things, you made a name for yourself that people are going to remember. Mickey Kraft.
I walk
20 years ago, they're waiting for that magazine to come out the end of the month.
Yeah, I haven't even won one of these tournaments. I mean, I have my biggest cash was $70,000.
Right.
And I go into these tournaments now, and they're all like, Mickey Kraft. They call me the legend. Everybody calls me the legend. I'm like, how can I be a legend after one tournament?
Yeah.
I don't understand it. I still don't get it. I mean, but the poker world they're a finicky, fun group. They're great people. I mean, so I'm in there playing with them and having a good time.
And how are those? I mean, obviously, you sit at a table at some point in time, you hope, with the Helm Youths and some of the other guys. But away from the table, mm-hmm. Can these guys relax? Can you relax away from the table and just be Mickey?
Most certainly. You have to understand the type of guys these people are. They will welcome you in their crowd for sure. I mean, they're not going to shun you because they think they're better. I mean, everybody thinks like Phil Hellmuth will and everything, but he's not. He's not that guy. Mm-hmm. He does that for the cameras. He plays to the cameras and things of that nature. But each and every person I've ever met in the poker is really nice. I mean, of course, there's an exception, but there's an exception in anything you do. Mm-hmm. But these guys are phenomenal. The girls are phenomenal. I mean, they're just phenomenal people. They really are. And
when you started cashing, because June 27, 29, you won 69,000. You told me in that 3K limit.
That I was only two play. The whole idea is to get bracelets. Okay, I mean, forget about the money.
Okay.
You want to be the champion, the best at that game at that time, because you're playing the world's best. I mean, that was my only first limit hold'em tournament I've ever been in. Mm-hmm. Never been in a limit. I don't know limit that well, but it played pretty much the same way. But you have people that don't do anything but play limit hold'em.
And what's the strategy? Limit versus no limit.
Limit, you can't throw all your chips in at any time. You can't say I'm all in.
Gotcha.
You have to bet a certain amount, and you can only raise 3 times and it's capped off. Or 4 times and it's capped off. But so it plays a little bit differently. But Max Silver ran over top of me, who's a pro from Dublin, Ireland, who is he said that was one of his first limit hold'em tournaments, which I find hard to believe. But
so I mean, bloggers, The hero we need but don't deserve. We were sad to see Mickey. We were sad to see Mickey Kraft leave.
That was from one of the ladies that I sat next to.
Yeah.
I was an hour late for day 4 because I got engaged.
Right.
And we celebrated with some Patron and some friends, and it seemed like it just went on forever. So I only got like 45 minutes sleep. So I was an hour late, getting up, getting ready. But I was chip leader, so I didn't really care too much. I mean, it's normal to come in a little bit late. But I sat down beside her, and I was like, "Do you have anything?" And she gave me this vitamin pack. It just made it through the whole day. Thank God.
Nice.
That lady there, Joanne, or what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't have her name written down here, but I saw that as I was doing some research.
Very nice lady. Matter of fact, they've invited me out to Reno to play in a cash game, just them and some friends, which is awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, just come out to Reno. They have a good time. They go there once a month to play.
So, it's definitely a loose, aggressive style. Everybody should play that way. A lot of people worry too much about making the money and advancing and everything, when you should just worry about having fun, play your cards, play the people, and just make a time of it, is what you said. Is that Mickey?
Here's what I found. I found that they're sucking the fun out of the game. Okay, they're playing by this book. They're pretty much letting the cards dictate what's going on. Instead, I mean, I played 9-4 offsuit and took down a $2 million pot. Okay.
Yeah.
With 9-4 offsuit, I didn't have a pair.
Yeah.
I acted like I did. These guys wouldn't even dream of doing something like that. I mean, they're going to bluff, but they're going to bluff when they have outs. Like it's a semi bluff. They could be bluffing, but they could also hit still. Mm-hmm. I'm a bluff when I don't have nothing. And
so you want to make it to the point where people don't know if you have two aces or a 9-4 offsuit. They don't know if I was
coming or going. They had absolutely no. And sometimes it'll fall just right. They'll call you when you do have it, and they won't call you when you're bluffing.
And is that why they call it gambling?
That's why they call it gambling. That's why. But I did double some people up. I mean, I got 4 million chips. Somebody with 100,000, I doubled them up.
Right.
But who cares about their 200,000 when I still got 3.9 million in front of me? I'll try to get them again.
Yeah.
Sooner or later I'll get them.
Mm-hmm.
So I just rolled over top of everybody. Absolutely everybody.
Did you ever think at any point in time that you were in over your head?
No. I mean, I was having fun. In over my head, no. I always feel like I could beat everybody.
Is that the mentality you have to have?
Yeah, I really truly believe that if the cards fall right and I play right, I can beat absolutely anybody there is over the long haul. So no, in over my head, no. Did it go to my head? Absolutely, yes. Yeah. Did I start to try to show off and do things that was not out of my game? Yes. Mm-hmm. I mean, I went out with 7-2 offsuit.
Yeah. Well,
the worst hand of poker, the whip.
What makes a successful tournament for you now? I mean, as opposed to when you went to Aruba and were flown there the first time, so all of a sudden, wow, if you win or lose, it's still a success.
Right.
Now, what's it, 5 years later? How many years later since that happened?
Oh, that was 2006.
Okay, that was 06.
Yeah.
So now, 12 to 11 years later, what makes a successful tournament now? You got to cash?
No, you don't have to cash. No, just making it deep, playing the right hands, going out good, A lot of times I would go out bad. I would make a bad bluff or things like that nature, bluff off all of my chips. Now when I go out, it's because I was ahead and somebody got lucky.
Okay.
So as long as I go out like that, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
As long as I go deep in a tournament, I'm good. Like her and I were arguing one day, and I joined a tournament. I was out in 20 minutes. Okay, you just don't play like that anymore. You shouldn't do it.
So even if you're getting better, you think at this point in time,
you'll never stop learning. That's for sure.
Right. Yeah. If you're good at Texas Hold'em, are you also good at blackjack or 5-card draw? Are they different? I mean, I know they're different
games. Nobody's good at blackjack unless you're counting cards.
Okay.
The house is going to win. That's that equity value. Now you're playing negative equity value games. When you're playing blackjack or craps, when you're going out there and playing the casino games, those are negative equity values. In the long run, they're going to be negative.
Right.
Yeah. Poker can be a positive EV if you play it correctly and do everything right. Especially in cash, it'll be a positive equity value.
Mm-hmm.
So no, it doesn't make you a good blackjack player whatsoever, unless you're counting cards, which some of these math guys can do, but they won't let them play in the casinos. There was 3 or 4 of them that had to be ushered into the poker tournaments from the casino floor because they're not allowed to be on the casino floor because they count cards.
Right. So the hold'em, are you good in regular 5 card or I mean?
Yeah. Now I'm expanding. Pot Limit Omaha is one of my really good games. As a matter of fact, I think I'm better at Pot Limit Omaha than I am No Limit Hold'em.
Okay, what's the difference?
You get 4 cards. You must play 2 out of your hand and 3 on the board.
Okay.
So Hold'em, you get 2 and there's 5 on the board, and you can play any combination of cards. You can play all 5 on the board, 1 out of your hand. And Pot Limit Omaha, you got to play 2 out of your hand and 3 on the board.
Okay.
So that's the name of that game.
Strategy still the same?
A little more betting, a little more opening up, less folding. If you're a gambling junkie and you need the action, probably start off at Pot Limit Omaha because you're going to stay in more hands, you're going to play more hands, you're going to have more ways to go. But you better know how to play that game too, or they will eat you alive, the ones that are good at it. I mean, there are guys that do that and only that.
Yeah.
So 5-card draw, not a good player. I played the mixed game this year just because I was trying to be player of the year because I had a bunch of points.
Yeah, because you got 400 from the World Series of Poker, didn't you?
Yeah, 400 from the World Series of Poker. I mean, the guy who was winning it was only like 700. So if I final tabled another one, I'd been right there.
Yeah.
So I played one of the mixed games, which had Raz, which I'm not real good at. It had 2-7 low ball, which means you triple draw, which means you get 5 cards.
Right.
The worst, you want to make the worst hand 2 through 7.
Okay.
Not ace through 5.
Gotcha.
Ace is high. 2 through 7, no straights, no flushes, and you get to draw to it 3 times. That game ate me up.
Man, I'm confused just sitting here listening to you talk about it.
Yeah, you want to start with 3 or 4 of those 2 through 7s. I can tell you now.
Man, I'm telling you. Is there a best seat at a table?
Where you're comfortable. I mean, like I'm a big guy. I don't like sitting in 5-hole. 5 is like right in the middle of everybody.
Right.
So I like the 1 or the 9. I don't have to see everybody. I don't have to stare them down. I don't really care too much for that. And that might be from online. I can tell a lot what you're doing by your betting. Okay. And not by looking at you. So
okay. So you're not? Are you superstitious that if you get there first and have a selection?
No, I don't think there's any room for superstition and No Limit Hold'em or anything like that.
Really?
No, I don't think there's any room for it at all.
Not even like wearing a special T-shirt or wearing a special watch or anything like that.
Nope, I don't think there's any room for it. I mean, I think you're asking to be lucky if you're throwing that in there. I mean, it's a skill game. I mean, when the rest of the states realize this is a game of skill and not a game of luck, maybe they'll approve, online poker and things of that nature, because it is a game of skill. You see the same guys all the time on TV, don't you? Mm-hmm. I do. I mean, I can recognize almost all of them. It's very rare that I see a guy that I don't know.
Would America be surprised at some of the people you see in some of those tournaments?
Yeah, you would be surprised. There was 2 football players. Do you remember Welcome Back, Kotter?
Oh, yeah.
He's there.
Gabe Kaplan?
Gabe Kaplan.
And this is at the World Series of Poker?
Yeah. Who else did I see? The guy from Raymond, the real tall guy.
Brad Garrett?
Brad Garrett was there. They even said Phil Collins was there, but I don't believe it. But I did see his name, but I don't think it was the same Phil Collins. I'm like, you guys are getting mixed up. I don't think Phil Collins is playing poker. But they said he was there. Be
surprised, though, at how many people, at some of the people who you might meet in there. Everybody from a teenager to a 70 or 80.
There's a 20-year-old kid, or 21-year-old kid that's almost won the WPT event I just left from. And I played him in cash game and rolled over top of him. But again, cash is different from tournament. Mm-hmm. So I was very surprised to see him at the final table. But he kicked butt. I think he finished like 6th. But for a 21-year-old kid, taking home $250,000 must be nice.
Yeah, I was going to say that'll go a long way. What's the most you've ever won in a single hand?
Cash, about $118,000 playing Omaha and Cincinnati. in a casino in Cincinnati. We always called it the doctor game because there was a doctor that always came, and it was $25.50 pot limit Omaha, and I only took 20,000 because this guy would stay absolutely every hand. So if you got caught, you don't want to get caught for a lot. So I'd take 20,000 out, put it on the table. If he beat me, take another 20,000. To where these guys all took like $40,000-$50,000.
Yeah.
And he would stay in every hand. It didn't matter what he had. And this is serious. He really would. The guy was unlimited amount of funds. Had to have like $1 million box at the casino because they would just keep bringing him chips. So I won $115,000. I think it was 112 something on one hand pot limit Omaha. Like one hand, not one tournament, one hand.
Blood pressure going?
Yeah, blood pressure going. I've lost $30,000 on one hand too, though.
Well, that was my next question. But I can. How do you control the nerves?
It took a long time. You know, I actually almost thought about taking a Xanax or something like that to do it. But what finally did it was when you stopped worrying about the money. You know, I stopped playing it over your head.
Mm-hmm.
Know that you could lose that and not have a problem. It's called bankroll management. It's very important if you're going to be a professional poker player or professional anything really. It's controlling your bankroll. Never put more than 10% of it at risk at any time. So if you only got 10% of it at risk, it kind of tends to calm the nerves and everything. Like I could lose that 10% because I know I'm a good player, and if I lose it, you know, I know I can get it back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but if I'm throwing 50% of my bankroll, and somebody gets lucky on me, then there goes half my bankroll. So all somebody's got to do is get lucky on me again, take my whole bankroll, and I'm no longer a professional poker player.
Yeah, then you're toast. Yeah, then you're toast.
Yeah.
So now that you've come this far, you're a different manager and everything else like that.
I am.
Not only are you a different
now.
player, it's now a business.
It is a business. I'm treating it just like one. Matter of fact, I'm thinking about taking a little bit of a break, losing some weight, exercise, and trying to figure out where we're going to live before I even jump into any more tournaments. Because when I'm in those tournaments and I'm in that mode, that's all I'm thinking about is business, business, business. I'm not thinking about where where we're gonna move, and,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not eating right, things of that nature. I mean, the last 2 years I've gained 50 pounds. So,
really,
it's been incredible. I mean, you sit at these poker tables for 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day.
Yeah.
You know, even if you're eating good, you're getting no exercise, zero exercise. The breaks are 10 minutes. You get up for 10 minutes, you walk downstairs, you do whatever, and you walk right back up. That's it. It's terrible. That's the only thing I don't like about it.
Yeah.
You know.
So you're gonna have to be better at taking care of Mickey's business, but also taking care of Mickey.
It taking care of me, yeah. I feel like I've definitely neglected myself, for sure, health-wise.
MGM National Harbor Poker sponsorship?
Nope. Well, you could say yes. They're giving me a bunch of free shirts and things of that nature to wear, but depending on how I do next year, yes, yes, at the World Series of Poker. But yeah, that's what we talked about.
Okay, what's the plan now? All right, take me. We're sitting here in August, so take me what Mickey's plans are for the next 6 months. What Mickey's plans are for the next year as far as professional poker player Mickey Kraft.
I'm going to attend most of the World Poker Tour main events. I might not make any of the smaller ones, and the goal is to get my name on that trophy. Okay, this year, and then I'm going to return to the World Series. So I'm not playing too much poker. I'm only playing once every couple weeks for 3 or 4 days. So, I mean, that is a lot of poker, I guess. But once I get my name on that trophy, I'm going to, even if it's the next event, I'm not going to play any more World Poker Tour events. I'm going to concentrate on the World Series of Poker and getting a couple bracelets there, especially the main event.
Yeah, the big one.
That's what everybody wants.
And there are the World Series of Poker. Are there weekly events leading up to that?
Yeah. There's. I mean, right now they're in Cherokee.
Right.
I mean, you pull up the schedule. You just go to cardplayer.com, go to their tournaments, and you get everybody's Heartland Poker Tour, the World Series of Poker circuit events, the World Poker Tour. World Poker Tour is only in their first event right now, or just finished it up. And then now they're going to the Bicycle Casino, which I'm supposed to play with Antonio and Phil, 25-50 no limit hold'em on TV. but I don't know if I want to.
Why not?
Because I think it's a negative EV. I don't think that it's going to be good for me, my mental.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these guys are going to. You got to remember, I have 10% of a bankroll.
Right.
Even if they have 10% of their bankroll, that's 300% of mine.
Right. No, I understand.
You see what I'm saying? So they're going to have unlimited funds again. They're going to be pulling it out left and right.
Right.
And that's going to give them an advantage.
Unlimited, right.
Right. And
Gotcha.
me set at a disadvantage. So I've been really mulling that over. Do I really need the television time? No. I'm thinking of it as a business again.
Right.
So, no, I'm probably not going to do it. I'm going to go out there and play in the World Poker. I'm sure I'll get sucked into it somehow.
What makes it so appeling for people to watch that?
I love watching poker.
Because they can play it themselves. But what do you think makes it so appealing?
I don't know that it is appealing. Do you watch poker?
I will if I'm going through the channels, and I'll sit there and I'll stop there for a certain period of time just to see, because I try to calculate it as, why do they think this guy with a 7-4 offsuit is a 30% or a 31%, where this guy's got a 9-10 of clubs and he's at a 60. Yeah. I try to figure that out.
Yeah, that's just simple math. 52 cards in a deck. That's just simple math. But I don't think people are watching it. I mean, they moved the World Series of Poker to live this year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I didn't even get to see myself on television.
Right.
I mean, nobody recorded it for me or anything, so I don't have it. But because it was all live. They moved to that this year thinking that would help, draw more people in instead of when they shut it down and would do the November 9.
Right.
Poker is a funny thing it's hard to watch. It's like watching golf or watching anything else. But why people do watch is because they're like, I would do this in that situation. I would do that. And that's it. Because everybody does think they can play, which most people do have the basics down.
Yeah.
So they'll be like, why is that guy doing that with 4-7 off against the guy with a pair of tens? But sometimes that guy with the 4-7 will win, and you got to wonder why. How did he win that? Why did that guy fold?
Yeah.
I would never fold. That's what they say every time. You wouldn't have folded for all your chips, so I bet you would have.
Yeah, it's like riding a bicycle, and then the guys who are really good are like NASCAR here, right? I mean, is that the crevice between amateur and professional?
One thing, the reason I went out to the World Series of Poker this year and was going to play in the main event is they said it is one of the softest fields. And why is that? Because it is the biggest. Everybody wants to win the World Series of Poker, so it's going to bring anybody who has $10,000 to spare out, and it does. Okay, there was some soft players. There's some. I mean, when a guy when he's playing every hand can't have king queen suited every hand or aces every hand or jacks every hand. He's got to be playing 10-4.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, this guy's playing every hand. Yeah, he's knocking some people off because nobody believes him, But you just wait for your trips. You flop trips and then let him shove on you and take all of them. That's exactly what I did.
Time's going to run out for him at some point.
So yeah, there is that space in between the novice and the pros, for sure. I mean, if you don't think there is, you're crazy. If you think you can walk in playing 3 years of poker and beat Phil Helmuth, who's been playing longer than I have, you're out of your mind. Yeah. I mean, you're really out of your mind. You're not being realistic. This guy knows what he's doing. He'll read you in a matter of an hour and start taking you for everything you've got. Just that simple.
Do you have a favorite 2 cards that you would draw?
6-9.
Why is that?
Remember when I told you that I won the trip to Aruba?
Yeah.
So my brother is sitting in my living room, and I've been playing all night. I'm tired. I got to use the restroom. So I said, don't do anything crazy. I'm going to the restroom. So we're down to like 11 people. 7 of them get to go. And eighth place gets like $2,000 or something. So I come out of the bathroom, and he's all in with 6-9. right? And the other people still aren't acting. I said, "What are you doing?" He's like, "It's my favorite hand." So I'm like, I'm freaking out now. I'm like, if that guy calls over here, I'm out of this tournament. I've been working 12 hours.
Yeah.
I'll be darned if flop doesn't come 6-6-9.
Wow.
Right? Beats the guy, takes 2 of them out. Next thing you know, chip leader, go to Aruba.
So it's just a thing
that's been my favorite hand ever since. And believe it or not, I'll play it like aces a lot.
Yeah.
I've been trying to see a therapist about it, but it's not working out. 6-9 looks like 2 aces to me.
It's fun to hear how you've gone from playing online and how you literally took the poker world by storm in that trip out there out west.
I'm still stunned by it. I don't know how it happened. I'm a little amazed by the whole thing, but it's been fun. I mean, walking in and people knowing who you are, and like they still. I'll walk into a room and it's y'all hear legend like 4 times. I'm like, how can I be a legend? I don't understand it, but it makes you smile, definitely.
I appreciate you taking the time today, Mickey. I know you're busy. I know you're going all over the place, but it's been fun talking poker with you, and you're a fun person to get to know.
Well, I appreciate that, John. I like to have a good time, and if there's any local poker players around here that have a game, let me know.
Mickey Kraft makes a lot of people smile. Writers and bloggers say he's good for the game of professional poker. He says he's learned from what happened at the main event in Las Vegas. Mickey says he's going to go back there next year, and he plans to win. If you know someone who you think would be a good interview for an upcoming episode of the podcast, send me an email, jevans@wect.com. And if you like what you heard on this episode, leave a rating or a review. That'll help us bring in even more listeners. I'm John Evans. Thanks for joining us for this episode of One on One.